Hi, everyone. Hi, YouTube family. This is Renée Morris here, Quantum Touch Ambassador and Certified Quantum Touch Practitioner. I recently had the opportunity to take the Self-Created Health workshop, and it was one of the advanced quantum touch classes that I hadn't yet taken. The stars aligned for me to take it, so I thought I'd make a video to share with you my personal experience of this workshop. Now, for those of you that don't know, Self-Created Health is based on the understanding that our symptoms, our physical symptoms, are communicating with us messages and trying to get our attention to show us things, emotional things that need to be released, looked at, processed, and so on. Now, if you're anything like me, the last thing that you want to do is kind of find those old emotions that you have buried inside, bring them up and look at them. That doesn't sound like a good time. But as we learned in the workshop, there's a connection between our suppressed emotions and the physical manifestation of symptoms or of patterns, negative patterns in our lives. And I use the metaphor that our symptoms are kind of like little indicator lights on the dash of our car that are alerting us, saying, hey, there's something wrong with this part, or there's something that needs to be dealt with here in this area. And we can ignore that, or we can put a piece of electrical tape over the dash light, but it's not going to go away. And we all know what happens when we ignore those things is the problem gets bigger and starts affecting maybe other systems in our car. And the same in our lives, in our bodies, when we ignore these little alerts, these little indicator lights that are popping up as our symptoms, when we don't listen to what they have to say, when we don't look into it, it just causes us more problems down the road and can affect other parts of us, other systems within us. And so the Self-Created Health workshop helps us to be able to translate what those symptoms are telling us and trace them back to some emotional causation. During the workshop, I received this image as we were doing this process as a symptom is like being offered kind of the end of a thread. And so you grab onto the end and you trace it back to some other place that you might not ever have imagined was connected to that symptom. And this is the beauty of the workshop, is that it's quite surprising. And the process, the 7-step process and the discovery phase really efficiently gets you to that emotional causation. And there's no dwelling on old things that happened to you. There's no going into big elaborate stories about it. It's very concise and it's actually very quick. And there's no need to share a lot of deep personal information either, for those of you who might be worried about that. And if you do, it's a safe container. Everybody agrees to protect everybody's privacy, but you also do not have to share that out loud for the process to be effective. And one of the moments that I thought was incredibly powerful for myself was the release process. So there's very specific things that you have to do to ensure that you release all the charge of that emotion out of your body. And we know how powerful emotions are. Just think of times where you've experienced great overwhelming love, great overwhelming joy, or pleasure, for example, and then also great overwhelming sadness or great overwhelming anger. You know what that feels like. It feels like a charge of some kind in your body. Of course, the good things, we like that. We like that experience. But when it comes to the bad things, it's not so fun, of course. And when we release it, I describe the release process as feeling like a wrung out rag. I was completely spent afterwards. And that showed me how powerful that emotional energy was in my body, that when I got it out of me, I felt exhausted. And I thought, what has it been doing inside of my body? And I think about it like a computer system where you have programs running in the background, and you might be aware that they're running in the background, and sometimes the computer's a bit slow, but you really don't do anything about it. And then over time, it gets worse and worse until one day, of course, you try to open your browser, takes like 5 minutes, and it's really frustrating. And you get that technology rage happening, but you saw it coming, but you never did anything about it. And then it slowly uses up a lot of the life force of the computer system. And so that it was my experience when I felt that release. I recognized, wow, look how powerful that is, and how much of my life force energy was being used up with that operating system. And of course, it blocks the free flow of our life force energy, slows it down, and it really is our life force, the free and uninhibited flow of life force energy that allows us to heal ourselves, to thrive, and to be the vibrant human beings that we were here to be. So in releasing this emotional baggage, we free up our life force to support us, of course, in healing and thriving. And one other thing that I wanted to mention was that on the very first day of the workshop, instructor Deborah Gare mentioned that this workshop was for the Trailblazers. And I thought, what have I gotten myself into? And as she explained it, I understood that it really is for people who want to get to the root of something, who no longer want to put a Band-Aid on, to mask their symptoms, for example, or the patterns of manifestation in their life. They really want to get to the root. And it reminded me of my favorite quote from Henry David Thoreau, where he talks about living deeply and really sucking the marrow out of life, because life is so precious, and he wanted to live fully. And sometimes we have to go deep in order to live fully. And I see this workshop as a process that allows us to do that in a very guided way, in a very safe way, to allow ourselves to go deep in order to live and heal and thrive fully. And one of the last things that I'll share is that although the workshop is described as a 7-step process, I see it as far more than that. I would actually describe self-created health as an intelligence that you come to meet in the workshop, that you come to embody in the workshop, and that stays within you. I feel different in my body since the workshop. I'm aware that there's things that are happening within me for my healing, for my emotional release, for my thriving, that there's processes that have been engaged in my body because of this intelligence. It is like you have absorbed a living wisdom that is now operational within you. And that is far beyond just a 7-step process that you lead yourself through. I'm aware that I have now engaged with this incredible wisdom that is the Self-Created Health workshop. So if you have any questions about my own personal experience of this workshop, I invite you to connect with me. I'll put my email, my practitioner link in the description below. And if you're interested in taking the class, I'll also put the registration link in the description below. And I would love for you to use that registration link when you sign up. Thank you so much, and bye for now.